Hello everyone and welcome back into a spring break edition of the NONA Sports Show. I am your host as always, Edgar Rodriguez, pleased to be joined by Patrick Deleon.
Of course.
And of course, this is our second stop of the day because we are just coming from the first day of the spring break camp. We're going to touch on that in the first segment along with some other NONA related news, and then we'll move on to some big European matches. We're going to recap some of those, and then of course MLS, the first few weeks of MLS. MLS is back, so we're going to talk about how things are shaping up to begin the season. But Patrick, let's start right here. Let's start at home. The spring break camp, we just came from day one.
Yeah.
Of course, Coach Vinny, Coach Frodo. I say Coach Frodo. He sometimes finds his way onto the field still. And of course, Coach Bruno. Helping out the kids during spring break and just having fun.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always a fun time. I remember going to breaks, like camps over break as well when I was little. So it's a fun time for everybody to kind of just go out, work on some of their skills, just have fun as well. Not a totally serious environment.
Exactly.
Just for more fun. And I think that's all what it's all about. And we still got a couple more days of that to go as well.
Absolutely.
So,
just to start,
of
course, spring break, you still need a few days off at the end of the week, but it will go from Monday to Wednesday.
Yes.
And already, the kids are having fun as well. And that is the goal. Today was about passing and ball mastery overall. And you can tell, they have a good touch. They get into the groove.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, I loved doing that. So I'm sure they all do. Kids from 6 years old to 14?
Yeah, so, around there.
So I mean, it's a nice diverse group of kids. They're all having fun, and I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Just to have fun for this week.
Yes, that is the goal. No regular training. Take a week off of that. We'll come back into that next week and lock in next week, right? But for the time being, it's all about having fun and in a relaxed environment, a more relaxed environment for this week, since it's, of course, spring break, like I said. So, that'll go on to Wednesday. Let's move into some USL2 news, USL2 related news. No new signings as of now since Marcellus McCoy last week, but we do have two new players making their debuts in USL1. Ivan for Greenville Triumph, Alan for Georgia Tormenta. More great news coming from our 2024 boys.
Yeah, I mean, again, this just shows the quality that we had last year. I mean, these are just the latest group to make their professional debuts. We've already seen a couple earlier this year. It's exactly what we want to see. It's exactly what we're glad to be a part of as well, helping develop them for that professional setting. So, we played a big part in that,
Of course.
So it's awesome to see them. Of course, Greenville Triumph. Remember when I sent you that post of Ronaldinho?
I wanted to touch on that.
Minority owner. So
who would guess?
Ivan playing under Ronaldinho as a interesting. I wonder how that works, right?
Oh man!
But yeah, it's a great experience for these guys. They're gonna have so much more minutes to come as well. I do think they're all gonna have a really good year.
Absolutely, Ronaldinho, like you said, minority owner of Greenville Triumph, and I saw a bunch of reels of him at the stadium and stuff. I'm like, why in the world is he?
What is going on here?
Yeah, why?
He went there to watch Ivan.
That is clearly the answer. That is clearly what convinced him to join, right? But I mean, that must be such a great motivating factor for those players because I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah.
And he's taking the time, to be involved with the USL One,
right?
Franchise, which. I mean, on the face of it, you would say, no, that's not real. But he had the sweater on, and he was, proud of his team, and that is incredible to see.
For sure.
Especially for the growth in the lower leagues. I mean, to see that type of name be involved with U.S. soccer just to begin with is incredible. Of course, Charles All at Pittsburgh as well, playing his minutes. So lots to look at in USL 1, and then, of course, MLS Next Pro with Gunner. So there was more league play as well for our younger teams. Of course, 2015 Black, coming off of a tough Adidas Champions Cup, came back strong in the EDP, beating FC America and beating High Soccer Prospects. And for not just 2015 Black, but for any team to bounce back after not scoring any goals in the weekend is huge.
Yes, of course, and I'm sure they had that in mind as well. Made sure that wouldn't happen again, and they got the job done. So that's, again, just like you said, for any team, that should always be the mentality. I mean, it's tough for sure, not having that ability to score over the course of a weekend, but you just got to look forward to the next game. And I think that's what they did. Coach Sewell did a great job at making sure that they had the right mindset, and they got the job done.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they're back on form, just like all of our other teams as well, who were playing throughout the weekend, just continuing on their league seasons and continuing to do their best. Looking forward to the end of the week, though, Patrick, because on Saturday, USL 2 open tryouts for 2025.
Yes.
Are here, and it's quickly approaching. Coach Bruno, Coach Vinny as well involved, Coach Marcelo will be looking at who they can potentially take. And you never know who comes up on these open tryouts.
We could have another Ivan right under our noses.
We don't even know.
We don't even know. But this is going to be a super exciting weekend to see who is going to potentially be a part of the squad come May. It's going to be super interesting to see what kind of talent we find.
Don't forget to check it out if you're interested this Saturday at Heroes Park from 6 to 8 p.m. We will be there creating content as always and hopefully uncovering some gems for this upcoming USL 2 season. But that about wraps it up for a quick segment 1 this week because we have so much to talk about in Europe and in MLS, so stay tuned for more.
Migaloo Pool, we make pool care easy, convenient, and hassle-free. We're your one-stop shop for everything your pool needs. Whether it's regular cleanings, equipment repairs, or even a completely pool remodel, our experienced team is ready to handle it all. You can trust us to keep your pool sparkling and running perfectly. Looking for supplies? Stop by our Orlando store. It's stocked with all essentials and extras to keep your pool in top shape. With Migaloo Pool, it's all in one place. Professional services, quality supplies, and a team that cares about your pool as much as you do. Let's make pool care simple and enjoyable. Contact us or visit our store and see how Migaloo can make it.
All right, everyone, and we are back now for the second segment after covering our Nona news, heading into the spring break, a little calmer week. Can't say the same about European football because, of course, even though we're going into the international break, there was still a load of league matches to cover, and we're going to start in Spain because that is where the main, I would say, headlines came from this weekend. Let's start at Villarreal 1, Real Madrid 2, Juan Foyth, formerly of Tottenham, opening the scoring for Villarreal. That was before, though, Mbappe scored 2 first-half goals to complete the comeback for Los Blancos. That puts him on 20 goals in La Liga, by the way, 29 in all competitions. Incredible for Mbappe. Finally got going after getting slammed right at the start of the season for not producing enough, all this and that. But away from the score, Carlo Ancelotti, Patrick, back in the news because he essentially said that his team will not show up, will not play, if games are less than 72 hours apart again. Now, what's the problem with this? After the international break, they play Leganés in the league, and then they play Real Sociedad in the Copa del Rey.
2 days after, right?
Inside of that 72-hour mark. So are we saying that Real Madrid are not going to show up for the Copa del Rey semifinal?
Look, I mean...
What's going on there?
I understand. Schedule congestion, it's a real issue. Everybody has voiced their opinions on it.
Yeah.
But what's the reality of the situation? There's not much we can really do.
It's not going to change.
It's not up to us.
It hasn't changed now.
It's not going to change. It's probably going to get worse as time goes on.
If anything, You
just got to deal with it. Like, that's your job. You're the manager. You're getting paid millions and millions of euros. Same for the players. I understand it is a lot. I understand it's a lot of strain on the players. I get it. But you just got to do it. I mean, some teams have worse schedules, I feel. Like I was telling you, you look at like the championship in England. These guys are playing nearly 50 games just in the regular season alone. That's not including potential promotion playoff games, cup games as well. I mean, what are we doing? Like, I get it. You really only hear this kind of issue with these bigger managers like Ancelotti or, some other big teams. You don't hear as much from smaller clubs because, again, maybe they're not playing as many games. But even still, the teams that are playing in Europe, say like Conference League or Europa League, when do you ever hear them complain of like, we need it's only these big teams.
Exactly.
But you just got to deal with it. Like, I'm sorry. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but you just got to deal with it.
And even if Real Madrid has had injuries like Ferland Mendy, Ceballos, Vallejo, Militao, Carvajal, the list is long of injuries they've had this season. But even still, you have one of the most expensive squads in Europe. You have one of the most talented. Above all.
Right.
It's later on in the season. squad rotation becomes more important than ever now. And if you don't trust, maybe you don't trust, like the likes of Endrick, for example. He didn't see the pitch against Villarreal. Maybe that was a chance, 2-1 up in the second half. Put him on instead of Mbappe. If it's such a problem, because we have to say it, Mbappe and Deleon specifically, they played all 120 minutes recently in the Champions League to then now playing 90 minutes again. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. It gets to in terms of load, you're reaching a limit.
Yeah.
However, you do have other options. So squad rotation again has to be something he works in more and not complain.
Yeah, I think that's one of Ancelotti's biggest weaknesses. I think that's one of his things, as always, as a coach. That he's never been a guy to necessarily rotate when he needs to.
Yeah.
He just sticks with his guns all the way through until something eventually goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. He's got to learn how to rotate. So, and I think a good way to potentially combat this, just maybe make the roster sizes a little bit bigger.
Maybe
2-3 more subs.
Maybe
you can bring in a little bit more quality, a little bit more depth. Sure, you're not going to use all of them, right? But I think just to have that peace of mind, okay, I got 2-3 other guys on the bench that I know I can fill in for defense, midfield, offense, whatever. You get the point. I think that's a good way to
maybe that is in the works. We will have to wait and see. Sticking in LaLiga, we're going to stay
a big one.
Yeah. We're going to stay with the other Madrid side, Atletico Madrid 2, Barcelona 4. Now, Atleti took a 2-0 lead in this one.
Yeah.
Couldn't hold on. Barcelona, late comeback, and they take a stronghold in first, especially since they have a game in hand.
Yeah, no, so now they're tied on 60 points with Real Madrid. But let's talk about a brace from Ferran Torres, Lewandowski as well.
Great
and
finish.
Yamal giving them that 3-2 lead in the 92nd minute. And then, of course, Torres in the 98th to put the game to bed. But, man, Atletico, they seem to be shaken up.
What a horrible week.
Yes.
Horrible
Knocked
week.
out of Champions League from Real Madrid. And maybe controversial fashion? I don't know. But a hard loss. It was a difficult loss for them. And then now they lose a 2-0 lead against Barcelona at home. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, you lose. So you go to the Bernabeu, you lose 2-1.
Right.
Okay. You go to Getafe, you lose 2-1.
Yeah.
Ouch. You win in regulation time against Real Madrid.
Penalties.
Yeah, exactly. You take it to pens, tie it on aggregate, still go out to, the double touch from Alvarez. We can talk all we want about that. It was a double touch. Referees couldn't count it. And now you lose after going 2-0 up. Wow. Simeone, I think the international break comes at the perfect time for Simeone.
And you need a reset.
Just send all of his players out. Just go with your international teams.
Come back.
Hopefully do well. Hopefully not have any injuries, because then that would just rub salt in the wounds.
For sure.
In the wounds. And then come back stronger, because, Atleti need a reset, especially if they want to keep it a 3-horse race in the league for the title.
For sure. And, that does them no favors at all. Because now they're 4 points behind. And look, we all know you can win the league with 1-2 points, but 4 points behind, it's going to be a hard gap to close on both Real Madrid and Barcelona, considering they're both at 60.
And they're not done playing Barcelona, because they have them in the Copa del Rey again. So you go into that match 4-4 on aggregate. You're starting at 0, basically, right? You're drawing the match. So they're going to have to attack it if they want to make it to the final of the Copa del Rey this season. They play Espanyol away from home. Coming back, okay, they're lurking in the bottom half of the table, but still a tough place to go. This is a crucial point in the season after this international break in terms of whether Atleti can, hang out with the big boys in the last 8 or so matches of the season. So Simeone, I think, will be grateful that the international break has come now.
Yes.
And then afterwards, it's all guns blazing for the last part of the season. So, but Barcelona, do they become favorites now?
For sure. I think they solidify themselves as contenders, weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think at the turn of the year is when they started to really, ramp up. But, man, this is still a 3-way title race. Very, very close. It's still hard to tell who's even going to come out on top. Atleti could come back and take the whole thing. Yeah. Maybe not. We'll just have to see.
Barca are on a good run, so they are looking strongest at the moment for the La Liga title. Nothing decided, though. in the not the Premier League in England, the Carabao Cup has been decided. Newcastle United 2, Liverpool 1.
Yes.
Newcastle win their first trophy since, get this, the UEFA Interfairs Cup.
What
not
is that?
not even a
What is
tournament anymore. They won that in 1969. That was the last trophy they had won. The last domestic trophy since 1955, Patrick.
I feel like I'm going to grow up like that. No trophy. No, but it's just like,
Unreal.
That's unreal.
Such a huge club like Newcastle finally get their hands on some silverware. And again, congratulations to Eddie Howe and his boys, because, I mean, the growth that club has seen is extraordinary.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen people try and, discredit them, with, like, the ownership and everything. I'm like, no. You gotta... I think they've always been a club that I would say a majority of people have always liked.
Yeah.
I've always liked them.
Yeah.
I've always liked them, watching them, and just they're entertaining. They're very, very passionate. They love their club.
The Geordies
they
up
love
there,
it.
huh?
And to pull this off against Liverpool, a really good Liverpool side. Come on.
That's as big as it gets.
How can you not? So how are you gonna try to stomp on their parade?
Right.
You can't. I mean, a trophy after 70, a domestic trophy after 70 years.
70
years.
Almost a century.
Think about it. Like, generations have gone without seeing them lift a trophy. Generations have come, and now for the first time in this new millennia, wow, they get to see them lift, even though it's just the Carabao Cup.
That's huge.
They will take whatever they get.
That's the holy grail for them.
All they care about. And, congratulations to them. Dan Burns, of course.
Oh.
And then Isak.
Isak with the second goal. And Dan Burn.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Not only Dan Burn, right? Because he's a childhood boy from up northwest in northeast of England. So, I mean, it means that much more.
Yes,
the celebrations at Wembley when those goals went in. I mean, it's almost like they couldn't believe that they were leading at Wembley in a final against Liverpool. A Liverpool side, which we have to touch on that.
Yes, of course.
Very disappointing. I saw the stats for Salah whenever he plays finals.
Only 2 goal contributions.
It's sad
in his
almost.
Career.
It's sad because he's such a huge player for Liverpool. We're not going to say, but
does the pressure get to him?
People start saying, he disappears in the big games, and it's like, wow, really? Is that what we're actually talking about with Mo Salah? A guy who's going to score, 30 goals probably in the Premier League, 20 assists maybe.
Right.
Those numbers are realistic for him this season.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that's
and now this becomes the talking point. I mean, and for Liverpool as a whole, you go from a couple weeks ago talking about a quadruple to now.
You only have the Prem.
Which, of course, it's the Prem. We're not discrediting that.
Yeah.
It's the biggest trophy for Liverpool, but what could have been?
Champions League was a real shot.
What could have
They
been?
crashed out of FA Cup early.
Plymouth Argyle.
Against Plymouth Argyle. Relegation battling side, Plymouth Argyle.
I think they'll go down last in the championship.
Yeah, and then now, Newcastle, who, I mean, again, Newcastle, solid team, but they're still not the likes of, like, an Arsenal right now or Manchester City, in years past. Let me correct myself. Or even like a
You were struggling for examples.
but it's just like, I think this season as a whole, especially in England, has been pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's been all over the place.
It's been like really weird in that sense. But I mean, again, Newcastle, they did the job. They got it done. Strong performance, dominating performance. That's all that matters for them.
Finally, something to show for the new ownership. You go to the start of it. Bruno Guimaraes being the first big name signing they made,
and he's been a key player, a wonderful, excellent player for them this whole time.
Absolutely, and Newcastle could have easily gone the PSG route. Let's call it. Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, all the big flashy names. Of course, they've had problems with financial fair play. They haven't been able to splurge the money. But even if they would. Even if they would have had the option, I don't think they would have. Newcastle aren't that club.
And think about it, this is a pretty interesting journey they've had over the last couple of years. Threatened with relegation because of all these issues, right? Okay, great season. Then they qualified for Champions League. We all remember
2 years ago,
We remember the reception of their first game.
My gosh.
Insane. They beat PSG.
I believe they did win at St. James's.
Yes, and I mean, oh my goodness. And then now the Carabao Cup final. They reach it for 2 years later. They reach it They did lose last time around.
They did.
But this time they made sure that did not happen.
They lost to Manchester United also 2 years ago. That was that season.
Yes.
But, they came back and against a stronger Liverpool side pull it off. Kudos to all of them in black and white. An unbelievable achievement for Newcastle. And now that will give them motivation to push for Champions League.
For sure.
Of course, in the Premier League, it might be the top 5. Chelsea and City not looking that great. Who knows? They might both miss out.
They could.
And then, who knows? Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth, who did lose to Brentford last weekend. You have Fulham in there. Big win against Tottenham at home.
You still got Villa in it as well.
Villa in it? Oh, my
pretty close.
goodness.
Pretty close for those last couple spots.
Oh, the top 5. We're going to call it the top 5 race. The season is unreal in the Premier League. So, Newcastle will have that on their shoulders now to push them on for the last part of the season. Let's go to Italy.
Yes.
To finish the second segment off, Patrick. Atalanta 0, Inter Milan 2. They both ended up with 10 men on the pitch, but that did not stop Inter from getting another clean sheet and another 3 points in Serie A, and a huge 3 points, and I'll tell you why. If Atalanta would have won this at home, it would have been a 3-way tie for first place.
Wow.
Instead, Inter pull away slightly.
Yes, and I'm still sticking with my guns here with Inter still winning the league this year. I mean, Inter, I think they're the class of Italy right now, and they pretty much, I think, always will be. And this was a huge game that they knew they needed to win, and they did not fold under pressure, especially away. Perfect result. So now they're at 64 points, with Napoli at 61, Atalanta at 51. So you're right. If it had gone the other way around, all of these teams would be at 61.
Unreal.
We'd have like a similar situation to La Liga right now, where we got 2 teams in first at 60. So it's still a close title race.
Right.
But I do think Inter is still going to be my favorites for this.
I think now with just 9 games to go, I think now it's kind of
If they can distance themselves a little bit more, I think they got it.
That's right. Especially Napoli drawing, I believe, against Venezia. And I mean, so another huge result in Italy, Fiorentina 3, Juve 0.
Yep.
Which opens the door for Bologna.
Yeah.
Who might potentially make it into the Champions League for a second year in a row. So just craziness again, up and down Serie A as well. But Inter look firm favorites to win the Scudetto once again. But that kind of wraps up our European recap. So much to keep an eye on. But we're going to talk about MLS now. We've given it 4 weeks. We've given it around, a month or so to kind of get going. Let's give our takes on what's happened so far.
Do something fresh. Yeah, I'm super obsessed. Let me know when you done messing. A little that, a little this, then you put it to the test. It's all in the expression. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. And now I want it more. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. Okay, you got the floor. It's looking good. I kinda like that. I kinda really like that. It's looking good. I kinda like that. Come on, let's see some more. It's looking good. Keep it going, get it right. Not a trouble inside. You can't argue with perfection. Ooh, you working something up with.
All right, everyone. So, segment 3 time, and it's MLS time because, like I said, 4 weeks into the season, we've had some signs about how teams are doing, how teams are looking.
Right.
Let's start with Orlando City. Let's start with our local MLS side. Recently drawing 2-2 away at New York Red Bulls, of course, this side, which took away the chance of going to the MLS Cup final last season, so it was kind of revenge time for Orlando City. They were looking forward to this one. 2-2 at the end. Talk to me about how you've seen the Men in Purple do so far.
I mean,
4 points.
It's nothing I guess I should be surprised about, because we've seen in years past really slow starts. They ramp up in the summer. They finish the season as statistically one of the best teams in the league.
Yep.
However, I've always said this before, the champions of the league, they never start off slow. I saw it last year at the Galaxy, which, by the way, reigning champions Galaxy, only 1 point in 4.
We got to get
we'll
to
get
that.
back to that later.
Yeah.
But Orlando City, they've never started any season, I think, strong. The one season they did start like really strong, like winning streaks, was 2018, and that was also their worst season ever. So it's like, you never know what you're gonna get with this side. And Gaese, he's not up to par again. He's having a really bad year. Like you saw this when we were, coming back from Tampa. We were watching, against New York City, how he just slaps the ball in front of the offense, and they just pick it up and score.
Not vintage Gaese, not what we're used to.
No. And the thing is, that's what he's kind of come to now, and it's really concerning because it's like he's easily been the best goalkeeper we've ever had in Orlando City history, but that's also a low bar as well. But when he's on fire, he's one of the best in the league. But right now, he's having that same slump that he did last year in the beginning half of the season, where he was just letting in everything or just terrible distribution. Now, defensively, we're one of the worst in the league right now. We've conceded 10 and 4 goals.
Oof.
10 goals in 4 games.
Yeah, not what the doctor ordered.
Offensively, though, this is probably the best we've looked, but we can't back it up because of our defense. We're hemorrhaging goals in the back, right? Yeah. Orlando City. Yeah. So Pasalic has been a really good signing. He's definitely had a great impact for Orlando City so far.
Let's get into that. Pasalic, Muriel's having a great season.
Muriel's actually...
or compared to last season, it's great.
Yes, I think he's actually been a little bit more... He looks way more comfortable when he drops back as a false 9 almost. And he just distributes the ball off to the wing, or if somebody, slides into that number 9 spot when he drops back. He's done really good. We've seen him... His passes they're so simple, but they're soft and beautiful and perfect. Yeah. And it's just up to the players to finish the job, obviously.
How about Martin Ojeda?
He's
playing a larger role now.
Yes, because he's wearing the number 10.
That's right.
So he's definitely stepped up a bit, I think, this year. They seem to be flowing more freely. They don't feel like they have to rely so heavily on the right, where you would see Torres play, right? Now they understand that they have to utilize all the space they have. So it seems like they're more comfortable. So again, offensively, I'm not concerned offensively. Yeah. But it's just that defense is what's killing us right now. That's what's killing Orlando City right now.
One of the main points, though, has to be said, in the back line has been Freeman. Coming up from the academy.
Yes, what a player.
A monster he looks at that right back position. He's fitted in beautifully at the pro level.
Yes, he benched Thorhalson after game 1, essentially. No complaints there for me. Because as much as I like Thorhalson, Freeman has been just a spark of life. Yeah. It's been so fun to watch him. And, we also have other guys coming up from the academy as well, like Colin Gusky, signing a contract as well. Yes. Carabao, who's 16, by the way.
That's the youngest in Orlando City history,
signing an actual professional contract until, I believe, 2027.
Oof.
These guys are legit. This is the best crop of academy players. I think we're finally beginning to reap those rewards from the academy now, and it's starting to show. I mean, it takes time, of course, for any academy. We see it here. It takes time to grow, but Orlando City, they're finally getting those rewards, and I think that's the direction that they have to go in. They understand that the depth this year, it's been really shallow. But these academy players, they're hungry. They understand that. They know that this is their chance to make their mark, and they're taking it full force.
And it's not just a random academy. This is the best academy in the country. Under-19s hasn't lost in how long? I think it's around a year.
Yeah.
They haven't lost. It's one of the best run academies.
It's up there. Philadelphia has an amazing academy. Yeah. Red Bulls also have an amazing academy. Yeah. But Orlando City, I think, they're underrated in that sense.
Absolutely. If you haven't watched it already, Fabio sat here with Jose Campos, the head scout for the Orlando City Academy. Yes. Great segue. Go check it out on the NONA Sportscast YouTube channel. After this, of course.
Yes. But again, perfect point.
They're running it fantastically, and those players, like you said, depth can be an issue.
Yes.
And they see a potential opening in the door.
They're hungry
and they're going for it.
And that's what they need. That's what we need. Hungry players, and these guys understand that. And that's a perfect mentality to have, especially at such a young age.
Last point on Orlando City, the next 2 games, at home against DC United, away to an LA Galaxy team which has started the season horrendously. Yes. How are we feeling? How are we feeling moving into the next few games?
Philadelphia 4-2 at the beginning of the season. Understandable loss. They're a good side.
Great side.
I underestimated them. Okay, you bounce back 4-2 against Toronto. Sure, Toronto, not a great side in the recent years.
But 2 4-2s to start the season.
New York
Crazy.
City, always hard to... That was winnable. Definitely winnable game.
But at Yankee Stadium, we know how difficult
that is. Hard,
but
again, Gallese not having a great game. Red Bulls, very winnable. Gallese not having a great game. And now we look ahead at DC. Again, a big threat of theirs is Benteke. He's always a clinical striker up top for DC.
Huge goal scorer.
But again, it's like this is a game that they should win. But at this point, who knows? Galaxy, away at Galaxy. Galaxy, they finally picked up their first point against Portland yesterday. But still, not a great Galaxy side right now, considering it has so many departures in the offseason and injuries going on as well. They're missing their main man, Ricky Puig, because he tore his ACL last year in the playoffs, unfortunately.
What a shame.
But, yeah, Orlando City, hopefully, I would expect them to pick up 4 points, at least.
In the next two?
Yeah,
I think that's realistic.
Who knows? You would think. But, again, this is how the season goes every year for them until the summer.
That's very true. So let's see how they continue doing. Yeah. We'll keep an eye on how their season continues to progress. So about the newcomers to the league. San Diego FC, of course, they made the huge signing of Chucky Lozano to kind of kick off their campaign. And look, they haven't lost yet. They have not tasted defeat.
2 wins, 2 draws.
That's right.
Definitely a very entertaining side to watch. They got their first goal at home against Columbus.
Yep.
A header. It was nice corner. I think they're still... The thing is, I don't think they're even still that well polished yet. And they're playing like this.
Yeah.
Andres Dreyer. He's a really solid, actually. The first couple games I've seen of him, he's playing really, really well.
Absolutely.
I think Lozano, he's been a bit absent. You know, their main man. That was like the marquee signing.
But a lot of pressure on him.
For sure. But I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to take that LAFC approach when they came into the league. They signed Carlos Vela, right?
Right,
and,
of course.
I mean, he was producing right off the rip. Lozano,
Vela is different, though.
Vela's different.
Yeah.
Lozano...
We'll wait and see.
He's never been that interesting to me, but I can definitely see what they're trying to do here.
Right.
So it's just a matter of saying whether he can start to slowly, again, new team, new country, new everything. We're starting from the ground up.
Yeah.
I understand there's a lot you got to figure out. But hopefully he can get firing on all cylinders soon. Because if he does, San Diego can be a legit threat this year.
Absolutely. In the first season.
We saw it with St. Louis a couple of years ago. Straight into it.
Yeah.
Boom. They finished, I believe, at the top of the West.
I believe so,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We could see the same thing happen here for San Diego, potentially.
Expansion teams coming into the league are, usually great season to start,
and then they tank a little bit after.
Exactly. So it's all about consistency.
Yes.
But so far, so good over in Cali for San Diego. How about first place at the moment? The only team to go 4-0-0.
Vancouver Whitecaps.
Who would have guessed that?
Not me.
Although, yes, okay, the schedule has been a bit favorable.
Yes.
But they've gone out and done it.
Yeah, I mean, not often do you see teams go out 4-0 first stretch of games, especially Vancouver. So they're legit, I think, this year. They'll definitely be contenders, for at least playoffs. I think I have them finishing potentially top 4 in the West. I do think they'll make playoffs. If they're playing like this, they'll make playoffs. They beat Monterrey in Champions League, so now they're moving on.
It's looking good.
Again, like you said, schedule has been a bit favorable to them, I will admit. But Brian White, their striker up top, he got a call up to the national team for the U.S.
That's very true.
Let's see what he can provide. It's an interesting team. Like, it's Vancouver. I like them, but I've never expected too much from them. So I guess that's why it's like, oh, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the only team right now, 12 points, 4 wins, Miami in second at 10.
Huge win
at Atlanta.
Atlanta, Messi goal, Alba assist.
Pico,
Yeah, Fafa Pico off the bench as well.
Yes.
Huge
really
game.
Late. Yeah. I mean, it was a very entertaining game as well. A lot of
the marquee win of the weekend.
Yeah, that was the highlight again. Sunday night, perfect game for that.
Exactly.
It was a lot of back and forth action. I watched it. It was a lot of fun to watch. for Atlanta, and then
you watched the Miami game? Wait,
I watched in Atlanta.
Oh, okay,
but,
gotcha.
No, but like I mean, if Atlanta, I also want to talk about them real quick because
Almiron is back.
Of course.
Has he had the impact that we all expected? Not yet.
The thing is though, this Atlanta side it's very different from the Atlanta side he played with in 2017, 2018.
100%.
Completely different.
Yeah.
This is a side that's still coming off of a rebuild over the last 2-3 years. They're still trying to find that. They're 1-2 steps away from making Mercedes-Benz that fortress, that intimidating place to go to. It was a few years ago. Still working back to it. They're still 1-2 steps away from it. If they can figure that out, hopefully by the middle of the season, they can be real threats because we saw glimpses of it last year. Now we have a stronger squad from them. They are just still 1-2 clicks away from getting it. If they can get it, Almiron will be dishing out assists everywhere. Latte Loth, their big man, their biggest signing up top, still having a great year so far, despite, starting off the season with 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. Still positive signs, but I'm sure they're expecting a lot more out of them.
Absolutely. Of course, you don't have that Joseph Martinez, Almiron link up again.
Even the defense was immense.
Incredible. Incredible team back then.
As much as I don't like them, I had to give them respect because it was like that was the class of MLS at that time. 2017, 2018,
incredible.
2019. That was MLS at its best. Headed by, of course, Tata Martino.
Yeah.
That's what they're hoping to get back to.
Absolutely. We also have to, shine some light on the bottom dwellers. We have 6 teams at the moment on 1 point. The worst of them being LA Galaxy.
Yes.
The LA Galaxy who won the MLS Cup last season, who, had that matchup against the Red Bulls and took advantage of it, won the cup, and now they're like, what's going wrong?
But the thing is that's how this league. It's how the league works. Roster rules. You're essentially punished for winning.
Exactly.
So all these guys, a lot of the starters from that MLS Cup game, they don't even play for the Galaxy anymore.
Exactly.
Their main man up top, Jovic, he's gone to KC.
Wow.
A lot of other departures as well. I mean, of course, Ricky Puig, the big one, being hurt right now. Can't even play. So you're missing a lot of guys, especially to injury, and just in general, the guys that led them to Cup. Now they're gone. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Greg Vanney, he's having a tough time trying to control the damage right now until they can get things back up and running with injuries. It's definitely surprising. But I think that also just shows how competitive and hard this league can get. 1 year, you win the league in almost near perfect fashion. And next, you're at the bottom of the table with 1 point.
Unreal.
Marco Royce, he hasn't done anything since he's gone to LA back in August or September.
He won the cup, yes, okay, yeah, congratulations, but
he hasn't actually contributed.
The actual
to
impact,
he's not had the impact that I guess everybody thought he would have had. But that's another thing. Now it's like, okay, now it looks like you're wasting money on this guy, right?
He has to turn up. He has to turn up.
But I don't think he will. As much as I like him.
Especially since they're playing quarterfinals of Champions Cup against Tigres, who we know, of course, are always there, always competing for that competition. And LA Galaxy have them next in the quarterfinals, so that's going to be
missing a lot of. Unfortunately, I don't see them come through.
Oof, that's going to be tough. It's always MLS, Liga MX.
Yeah.
In Champions Cup, we're going to have to see what happens there. But that about wraps up everything that has gone on in MLS so far. Any last word? Any last hot takes you might have? Any predictions? Who's going to win the MLS Cup right now?
This is too early.
It is too early. No, it is.
Too early.
It is.
But definitely, I think we already kind of see a playoff picture forming. But still give it a few more months. Come summertime, I think we'll have a better grasp of who are potential real legit contenders. See if Vancouver's still up there. We'll have to see.
Perfect. I think we can go off on our spring break now, Patrick. Enjoy your trip to El Salvador.
Yes.
Take lots of pictures. We'll be talking about it on our return episode next week. Of course, stay tuned for a podcast this week, though. We got you guys covered. Don't you worry. Even though it's spring break, we have the content coming out. But from Patrick, from myself, from Nona Studio, thanks for watching. Enjoy your spring break. Take care.